Magic is recorded live in front of a Twitch audience.
Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Orson.
And let's talk magic. Today we are going to be discussing Avacyn. We discussed it a little bit last week or last episode, but we need to touch base a little bit more because I feel like the hype that was there isn't there anymore, and I just feel like we need to actually really delve into this card and how it affects gameplay.
And we're also going to be playing a little game later on, and I'll tell you about that when we get to it. Rob doesn't know about this yet.
Okay, interesting. This might have something to do with the contract I had to sign earlier this week, which was very interesting. For some reason, I was unable to read or look at any of the upcoming In-nistrad spoilers.
Yeah, since last Tuesday, I told him not to look at any spoilers, and there's a good reason, and you will find out about that later.
Okay, he did tell me there was a good reason, and I'm going to assume this is it, unless there's something completely different. I'm very excited. All right, so let's just jump right into Avacyn. So a lot of people seem to be online through the Reddit forums and on MTG Salvation, and they're saying, look, this card is a jumbled mess. It doesn't actually add up. Things don't, it's not coherent. It's not a very well designed card is what I'm seeing people say.
I've seen that too, yeah.
Yeah, so our last episode, we kind of were raving about Avacyn. We're like, whoa, how did this happen? Like, how did they... You know it's good because look at all these words. There's so many words on this text. So much text on this card.
There are a lot of words, yeah.
A lot of words. So
Now I understand why they think what they do. Okay. I understand, because if you think about it, the front side of the card protects a swarm of creatures, and the back side of the card kills a swarm of creatures.
Okay.
Okay, so I understand the disconnect that people are seeing whenever they look at this card. So, what do you think?
Well, okay, in a nutshell, you can try and you can look at that card from those point of views. You can assess it and say, okay, it is all over the place. It doesn't add up. I can't figure out how to put this into my game, my standard deck. And so, to go a little bit further there with what they're saying, they're specifically saying, well, yeah, it protects, but like, where does this card fit? Okay, so we have this card that is definitely not a control finisher, and I think everyone agrees with that. This is not the card doesn't end the game. Okay, they're also trying to say, well, it doesn't really fit in aggro decks because I have this aggressive deck, and maybe it's my finisher there because now it's killing off all the small creatures I played leading up to the end game. And I actually want to touch base with that just a little bit. It could still fit in that style. I don't think that's necessarily right, but it could actually go in there because you play this to protect your creatures, you cause whatever favorable trades, you allow yourself to then maybe be able to swing, and even if they do something to make her flip, which would maybe wipe your side of the board, you're looking at a situation now where you all of a sudden flip, do 3 damage to your opponent. Yes, it did 3 damage to all the creatures, but we did 3 damage to our opponent, and we're swinging with a 6/5.
Right, flying.
Yeah, and that's if they deal with a different creature.
Right.
There's also times where she protects all your creatures, and then they deal with her.
Right.
So you still got value out of her.
Right.
So, yes, she could fit in that style, but I think the biggest problem people are having when they're trying to say, what value does Avacyn have, is they are somehow forgetting that whenever you construct your deck with Avacyn in it, you yourself know what cards you're putting in your deck to work with Avacyn.
Yeah, and you know what Avacyn does. You know when you want to play Avacyn. Mm-hmm. So you are mostly in control of the ramifications of her flipping or not, or her coming into play and indestructibling or not, or whatever.
Yeah, you're the one that ultimately gets to decide. So, it might be hard for you to figure out, well, how does she play in those situations? So we're actually we're going to go through a couple of those in a moment, of just how she actually works in gameplay. But yeah, I think she is probably just a really good, somewhere between aggro, mid-range creature. And sometimes she can be a finisher, because as I said, whenever she flips, even if she does wipe your side of the board, you're talking about 9 damage. 3 to the head, 6 in the air.
Right.
It's pretty strong. Okay, so let's just jump right into those kind of situations. So we're playing a game of Magic, and we don't actually know. We can't tell you exact cards that are going to be played in Standard, because one, we haven't even seen a third of them. We don't know all of In-nistrad.
Right.
And that's basically not quite a third, but it's once the whole block finishes, it would be a third of standard, I guess. But, a small portion of 20% of the cards we don't know. It's
Right.
like the 5th set or something. Whatever. Okay, so...
We know
Origins.
dragons...
Yeah, Origins, Dragons.
And then all of Zendikar block.
Right, so I was right.
Yeah, 20-ish%.
Yeah, we don't know 20% of the cards that could be played. Perfect.
I mean, they're balanced, different sizes of sets and stuff, but whatever.
Yeah, but either way, somewhere around that. So, how does Avacyn play? Like, what are we going to do? Even if we put her... We could easily build a deck. Like, we have played cards in the past. I've played Wall of Omens. That's a 0/4, comes to play, draw a card. We have a card kind of like that already. Or...
Wall of Reverence?
Well, no. Well, we've played Wall of Reverence in the past. It's the Ojutai Orators or something like that. I can't think of what their name is. Orator of Ojutai. But it's a 0/4. Whenever it comes into play, you may reveal a dragon card, or if you have a dragon, whenever it comes into play, you draw a card. And it's a 0/4 flyer,
right? Which
is interesting. So it's a little bit of upside compared to Wall of Omens, as long as you have the dragon. Even if you don't, still not a bad card. But we have, we've played Plumeveil in the past. Right? During Lorwyn block, that was 3 hybrid white-blue, and it was a 4/4 flying defender.
Right.
Okay? So we have Flash, which is important.
Right.
We have played a lot of... Actually, that's interesting, too, because people are trying to say, well, this is like a worse Plumeveil. Do you see that? Do you think this card is anything like Plumeveil, other than the fact that it's a flying flash?
Well, if I was literally casting it in exactly the situation that you used to cast a Plumeveil in, maybe, because sure,
it's still not even the same situation because she could block and still survive.
Right, because she becomes indestructible.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's still not even the same thing. You can't. That's actually probably one of the hardest things people have to do whenever they're sitting there trying to evaluate a Magic card. What a lot of people seem to do is they try to compare it to another card.
You pull out the keywords that it has and compare it to other keyword cards that are around the same cost or do similar things. Yeah.
And you say, okay, well, this is either a worse version of this, or it's a better version, or it's about the same.
And there are times when you can do that when there's literally almost no difference except for like casting cost or power toughness or something. But with a creature as complex as Avacyn is, I don't think there is a comparison to be made like that. She deserves her own entire design space in a deck.
Mm-hmm, for sure. And actually, even to expand a little bit upon what you just said, there are times where we can get a exact functional reprint of a card, and it doesn't have the same value. Why? Because the entire block, the entire standard this card is in, is completely different.
Right.
So even getting the same exact card...
Since people are talking about Avacyn being, a Sarah Angel, essentially, we could look back. Did the blue color-shifted Sphinx that's exactly Sarah Angel get played, really? I really don't think so.
No.
Yeah. Because you can't compare the two cards. They're from different times. They do different things.
Exactly.
So we may have last week had said something about, it's like a Baneslayer Angel or it's like an Ojutai. And what we were saying there is not it replaces Baneslayer or it replaces Ojutai in that exact sort of deck. What we're saying is, for the cost, it is that level of card.
Yes.
It is a card that has that level of impact on the game at that casting cost. That's what we were trying to get at.
Yeah, like, what are some of the best 5-drops of all time? So you're going to put Thragtusk on that list.
Right.
And Thragtusk and Baneslayer Angel are 2 totally different cards. They're used for 2 totally... You could actually say they're closer in comparison compared to these others because at least they both can gain life.
Yeah.
Compared to this card doesn't necessarily gain life, but at the same time it does block and save you some life.
Right.
Whenever it comes to playing Indestructible. So... We're gonna delve into what are the different sort of gameplay scenarios we're going to see. Now, I'm gonna presume that if I'm playing Avacyn in my deck, I understand that Avacyn's effect is going to take place, either side, and I'm gonna kind of prepare. So I will play some cards. I'm more willing to play 4 toughness cards, me personally. But even if we didn't, let's still put her into this scenario where we're not smart enough. And we played a lot of 2 and 3 toughness cards. And that also means that our opponent did the same thing, because that's just kind of how the format shapes up. Once again, we're going to have to kind of like assume what the format's going to look like. And I'm making this a worst case scenario.
Right.
The worst possible case scenario for Avacyn
is that you just plunk her into a deck and you don't take her abilities into account when you're putting your other creatures in there.
Exactly.
Right.
So we have a situation...
Nor does the rest of the format.
Right. For some reason.
Right.
So in this situation... We have skipped, whether we went first or second, irrelevant, we skipped our turn 5.
Okay.
Okay, we are now on our opponent's turn.
With 5 mana up.
We have 5 mana up. It's their turn 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know which one. So, on their turn, this is the beauty of Avacyn. We have all these options. Do we play her? Our opponent might be a little worried. Are we going to play her? So because of that, they might actually play, especially if they've seen an Avacyn earlier, or a different game. We're in game 2, game 3. They are going to make suboptimal plays. They might not attack full team because they're worried about your trick, or they might do so on and so forth. Well, here's the beauty of Avacyn. So let's say they do attack. You have the option. Do you want to? A lot of times, I think, and this is going to be right probably 80% of the time. Throwing out an arbitrary number, don't actually know. 80% of the time, you're probably going to play her before blocks. You're going to give all your cards indestructible. You're going to allow her to be a blocker, and you're going to have whatever you had. Say those 2 creatures, a 3/3 and a 2/2,
right?
And then a 4/4 indestructible blocker to block your opponent's, say, 3/3 and 2/2. Okay. You also that's one scenario, at least of just casting her. The other scenario is waiting till after blocks are declared and then throwing up an indestructible shield.
Right.
Okay. Now, a lot of people, what they're saying is she's not good because you can respond to her indestructibility.
Okay.
So they're saying, well, you're going to flash her into play. In response to the coming into play indestructibility, I'm going to go ahead and cast Grasp of Darkness or whatever sort of removal we have to take care of your angel. Okay? That is, I guess, a worst case scenario.
And it's going to happen.
But you're still going to be able to have your other guys indestructible.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the odds are you didn't flash them in for no reason.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Actually, let me actually go a little bit further. The reason why I said there's the option of choosing blockers first before you actually cast her, that's very important.
Because you give the opponent an option to use some mana there on something else, perhaps.
Exactly. They might actually try to get rid of the creature so that their creature survives.
And then you've gotten double value. Now you've taken out a removal spell and whatever creature that you're trading blocks with.
And then the other important part is, another option, why are you possibly playing this after blocks, is because if they want to kill that creature, well, now you're going to be able to flip Avacyn. Or if they kill that creature, it's still blocked. It's not going to cause damage.
Right.
So there's so many little itty-bitty tricks just in this exact point.
Yeah, we haven't even flipped the card yet.
We haven't flipped. We haven't even gone to other implications, how you could play her and so on and so forth. We're just talking right here in the middle of combat, all these different ways that you can go about playing her and getting weird, interesting value. Sure. Okay, now let's actually go back for a second.
I could throw out another scenario too, but we'll do your thing first.
Okay, so I do cast her for 5. I spent my 5th turn essentially casting her, but on your turn, now you do remove either a creature or her, and it's successful. You now have lost part of your turn 5.
Right.
You don't get to cast a 5 mana cost card.
Right.
You have now used a removal, and now you might be able to play something for 3. I feel like I've taken away your turn.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And I still got
and
the
you
value.
still got the indestructible.
And I still got the indestructible value.
Right.
So I feel like no matter what situation happens there, I got something good. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, there's all you were talking about sort of the mind games, of people expecting the card or waiting for the card or trying to play around the card.
Okay.
Then there's also the fact that she's sitting on the board already. Let's say you're playing a deck that runs like Eldrazi Spawn or something that you can easily sacrifice your own creature to trigger her, right?
Okay.
If that's the style deck she's in, then suddenly your opponent has to sit there thinking, I don't want to play anything that has 3 toughness or less, because this guy at any time on his next turn can turn this into a board wipe.
Mm-hmm.
So there's another mind game. There's a mind game of it sitting there on the board like one of the old capsule cards, or a Seal of Doom or whatever.
So I see what he's saying there. Basically, we save a creature from removal, or this is, we could do that. Save a creature from removal. All of a sudden, this comes to play, indestructibility. Well, now they still have 3 mana left. Are they going to cast a 3 toughness card?
Right.
Like, wait a minute, he can easily sack the Scion, flip the Angel, and I just wasted my entire turn.
Right.
I thought it was bad enough.
Yeah, exactly.
And now it's even worse for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, there's even more mind games than just that. Like, there's times where you can easily have an instant that costs 4 or 5 mana. Right?
Right.
Like, if they decide that they're going to attack, you might do some whatever trades. There's even times where you say, you know what, I might make a couple trades and still save this as a surprise. There's times where, because you have the option now, they might not attack with everything because they are worried that you might have Avacyn in your hand. And suddenly you say, well, what they did wasn't that big of a deal. They spent 5 mana, dropped whatever creature. I can counter that in some way for 2 or 3 mana, and then still play something like Anticipate. So now, the threat of Avacyn is allowing you to get more value out of the other cards in your hand.
Right.
If you're playing that style deck. Something that has a little bit of instance or ways to control. Like, that's another thing. I guess some people don't...
I feel like she does go into that sort of creature-based control kind of deck.
And that's exactly what I was about to say. There's a lot of people that say, well, wait a minute, she doesn't really slot into a creature deck. She doesn't really slot into control. But if you really think about it, nowadays, and it's been like this for a long time, most control decks, they typically control the early game through defensive creatures.
Right.
They are. That's why I played with Wall of Omens back then.
Right.
That's why he's played with Plumeveil, right?
Right.
That's why we've played with these cards. These cards have seen play well before Avacyn ever came out. We're not all of a sudden saying, well, these cards might have value because Avacyn exists, right? We're actually saying, wait a minute, these cards are actually even better because Avacyn exists.
Yeah.
Right. So, and also on that whole removal note, like, how much removal does your opponent really have?
Right.
You
can't put them on every removal they need to make your board miserable.
Right. I mean, I remember whenever Baneslayer was first, before it exploded, before Baneslayer was the thing, everyone said, well, yeah, it's a fine card, Doomblade. Just gonna Doomblade it.
Yeah.
You spent 5 mana, I spent 2, I took care of your card. Well, that's how all removal works.
You spent $25 on a mythic, and I got a quarter common.
That's my favorite argument.
Yeah.
And it was 5 cents. But no, they do. They sit there and try to act like, well, this 2 to 5 investment, well, that's what we're doing in all of Magic anyway.
Yeah.
Here's the difference. We actually got value out of this card whenever we cast it. That's the point. Whenever you play this card, you're trying to find some value. You're trying to say, okay, I'm going to make use of this indestructibility. Yeah, okay, it sounded weird.
Yeah.
We're going to get use out of that. I'm going to try and have an opportunity to have this 4/4. We didn't even get to the fact of, let's say she actually does trick your opponent, and now you have a 4/4 Vigilant Flyer. A 4/4 Vigilant Flyer. Like, a lot of people aren't giving that much value.
Yeah.
Okay? I think Vigilance has been overlooked for a little while now. I think they might be starting to see it. There's this new card in Oath of the Gatewatch. It's a green and 1 colorless 2/2 or 2/3. And whenever you control 6 or more land creatures and that creature get +2/+2. And it has Vigilance.
Right.
I think people, they're playing in Constructor right now, and they're going, wait a minute, wow, I can actually attack with this thing and it sits back on defense? And seriously, a 4/4 Flying Vigilant is nothing to scoff at. This thing actually does 4 in the air and holds back to block any of your opponent's 3-power creatures. I mean, this card can actually trade favorably with a Dragonlord Ojutai, survive, and then attack next turn. Your opponent could attack you with Dragonlord Ojutai, you flash this in, suddenly indestructible, block it. What you would think? Well, normally my 4/4 is dead. No, there's a lot of cards that this thing can trade with that have 4 toughness in the format.
Yeah, I guess that's a really good way to deal with Ojutai.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways. I mean, it's actually amazing all the little things that this card does. And we're talking once again pretty much just about the white side of it. The red side is nothing but upside.
Yeah.
Anyone that tries to say it's not upside is missing everything. Like, this card, okay, so they're trying to say, let's discuss that.
It's obvious. It wipes your creatures.
It did the same thing. Same thing to my opponent then.
Yeah.
And
you're aware of it. You're aware of this when you play the card.
If I was willing to play this card in my deck and I was playing those cards, why would you be the one that is suddenly playing the 4 toughness creatures if they're good? If anyone would be playing it, I would be, because I'm the one with Avacyn in my deck.
Right.
It's that plain and simple. I'm trying to... I wrote a couple notes because this was a very crazy subject, actually.
It was such a roller coaster this week because people were super hyped when they first saw it, and then they started getting this negativity creeped in, and I don't think it's warranted, really.
You know where I think the negativity came in, actually? Whenever everyone first read the card, including us,
right, and they didn't
realize the upkeep transform.
Right, it doesn't transform after your creature dies until
the next upkeep. It's not an immediate transformation.
Yeah. So people were hyped on maybe making it some kind of combo deck.
Yeah, they were so... If they would have realized from the get-go, I don't think they would have had this. I think they would still be hyped about the card and saying, wow, it does do all these things. What a neat card.
Right.
But they misread it, and they got themselves overexcited. Well, now that it doesn't do something they thought it did, it's somehow a worse card. They completely forgot everything the card does because they're so busy now looking at it from a different point of view from where they originally thought about it. So yeah, it's a good point because they were maybe looking at it as a combo piece.
Right.
So yeah, I definitely expect, in summary here, I think that Avacyn will be a very large part of Standard going forward. It's going to be huge. And if it's not because people are playing it, it's because of the threat of you playing it.
Yeah.
Like, my opponent doesn't know, do I have one of these in my deck? Do I have 3 of these in my deck?
Like it could conceivably get to a point where it's ubiquitous enough that people are really looking for that 4 toughness benchmark for their creatures.
Yeah. I mean, and that's interesting too. This could be format warping is what he's saying.
Yeah.
This could change everything that we currently think about the future Standard.
Right.
So, I still think I would wait for the price to drop a little bit more because people don't have much faith in it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big chase. It's always the named cards are what people are after.
It is Avacyn. Wow, that's exciting.
Right. So it's going to go down because after everybody gets their pre-release cards of it and stuff, and that dust settles, people are going to be down on it for a while. Yeah, and it's going to drop again.
It will drop, and it's going to take. I mean, it's going to be at least 3 weeks in Standard, and I think that's being. I think that's not actually real. I think it's going to take longer, but it will take a minimum of 3 weeks for people to really start to play with this card and say, "Whoa, wait a minute."
It's sort of the same time period as when a new deck types start emerging that were not possible at all before the rotation. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be that same thing. People are going to start playing with the new cards. They're going to be like, "Whoa, this is the things I can do with it." The Madness deck will emerge, and then so will Avacyn, I'm sure.
Right. Before we get into the next segment, which I don't know what it is, to answer your question, we had...
what did we have? We had...
Who is this guy?
We had Panda Express. I know it was the foremost question on everyone's mind. We had Panda Express.
We did have Panda Express. Thank God that's out of the way now. And then today we had Popeyes. Okay, so...
So technically we had both.
We did have both.
Since the last time we saw you.
All right, so Orson apparently has something he wants to, a segment. I don't know what this is exactly.
That's right, my friends. It is time to play Is It In-nistrad?
What?
Yes, we are playing a game called Is It In-nistrad?
Okay.
Now.
Okay.
What, you like the title?
Okay, it's pretty funny.
Okay.
I did get it. I'm a little bit tears.
So, what this is a little game that I put together. And I have a list of 5 cards on my little piece of paper here.
Okay.
And I'm not going to tell you how many, but some of them...
Whoa, hold on. I should have some sort of like...
No, because then you could, by process of elimination, figure this out.
Yeah, but then also it'd be completely more unfair if all of a sudden you just make up 5 cards and I'm sitting there trying to find the real one.
It's okay. That's all for the viewers. I'm thinking of you. Okay. So
total jerk.
He has no idea how many, but some of them are real spoiler cards that he hasn't seen yet from the Shadows over In-nistrad, and some of them are cards that I've made up myself. Okay, and it's up to him to decide whether they're fake or real. And if you get 4 out of 5 of them correct, you get a sweet prize.
Oh my god, I hope it's a cupcake.
Okay, so are you ready to play Is It In-nistrad?
Alright,
okay.
I'm ready.
Number 1.
Music's a bit loud.
Oh, alright, well, we'll just fade that out. Okay, so, number 1. Pious Evangel.
Okay.
Okay. White and 2 colorless.
3, okay.
For a human cleric. It's an uncommon.
Okay.
Alright? Whenever Pious Evangel or another creature enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. Alright? You can pay 2 and tap it.
Pay 2. 2 colorless?
Pay 2 colorless and tap it.
2 any.
2 any. I'm going to say colorless.
I don't know what that means. So I have to use waste to do this?
No. You can pay 2 any color, 2
yeah.
generic, and tap it, and sacrifice another creature, transform it. Okay?
Transform it.
Now, it transforms into Wayward Disciple, which is black. Okay?
Okay, so white going to black. Okay.
Human cleric. Right. Whenever Wayward Disciple or another creature you control dies, Target opponent loses 1 life, and you gain 1 life, and it's a 2/4. Oh, the first one was a... Oh, I didn't write it down. I think it was a 2/2.
Wait, I didn't write it down?
The first side was either a 2/2 or a 2/3, and the second side is a 2/4.
All right, well, I'm going to have to just, based upon your words, and you're going to have to get better at this card is real. Because I didn't write it down.
All right. I didn't make it up.
I didn't have to make up some random numbers here. So based upon that, this card is real. I was going to ask some questions to further, because I was wondering...
yeah, I messed up.
Because you said the first side was gain life, and then you said the second side, I thought you said lose a life and gain a life.
You do.
Okay, I was going to confirm a couple of those things, but not even just this card is 100% real because Orson messed up.
Yeah, I did mess up. But yeah, so whenever this creature, whenever Wayward Disciple or another creature you control dies, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Okay. That's the other side. Okay, so you got that one right. That's 1 out of 5.
All right, let's just hope the rest of these are just simple clues that don't even involve magic. I got this.
Okay. Oh, I was there was gonna flavor text on there too, but I'm not gonna give you that.
No need.
I wrote it down though.
Okay, very good.
Other ones that had flavor text, I put down their flavor text.
You know, just keep missing the power and toughness. We're good here.
Okay. All right. The second one.
Okay.
Wolfear Ravencatcher. Okay. Wolfear being what the werewolves are now.
Okay.
Right. Wolfir.
Okay.
Wolfear Ravencatcher. 2 green and 1 generic.
Okay.
For an uncommon werewolf scout with reach. Okay.
Okay. So say it one more time. It's a what with reach?
It's a 2/3 werewolf scout with reach.
Scout with reach. Okay.
Okay. At the beginning of your upkeep, if an opponent controls 2 or more creatures with flying, transform.
Okay.
Okay.
This is weird.
Now it becomes a Wolfear Angel Hunter.
Okay.
It's still green. It's a werewolf warrior now.
Okay.
With reach. And it says, when this creature transforms into Wolfear Angel Hunter, target creature with flying gets -3/-3 until end of turn. And it's a 4/5.
And it's a 4/5. Oh, man. Okay.
Is that real or fake?
Okay. Hold on. So I'm going to ask just a couple questions here. So it starts as a 2/3 reach. I'll tell you what. The only thing I don't think that makes this card real is the fact that our opponent has to control 2 flying creatures. Okay? 2 flying creatures to make it transform. So we can't necessarily even control this. From a design standpoint, that card has to be fake. There's no way they're going to have our opponent... It's completely reliant on something our opponent does other than something we can control ourselves, which is, we can flip... because someone didn't cast spells the last turn, which we saw in the last block.
Your final answer is?
I'm going to have to go fake.
And you're right. I made that one up. Wolfear Ravencatcher is not a real card.
Whew!
All right.
Okay. You're really selling it with this whole Wolfear, being this race and everything.
Yeah, I tried really hard with that.
Oh, man. Okay.
2
for 2 out of 5 so far.
Yep.
Killing it.
Yep. You only have to get 2 more to get your sweet, sweet prize.
Oh, God.
Okay. All right, number 3. Cursed Ward.
Okay.
It's a 2 generic artifact, a rare, and it says the following. Pay 2 and tap it.
Okay.
Choose 1. Target creature gains death touch till end of turn. Sacrifice that creature at the beginning of the next end step. Okay. Destroy target transformed creature.
Destroy target transformed creature?
Transformed creature.
Okay.
Or draw a card, then discard a card. You lose 1 life. You choose one of those 3.
So it costs 2 to play, and then 1 and tap it?
2.
Oh, 2 and tap it, okay.
Yes, to choose one of those.
So 2 and tap it, and I get to choose to either... So this is weird. Destroy a transformed creature.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's weird. The other one was gains death touch, and then we sacrifice that creature. That's also something we've never seen in Magic. And then draw a card... Or, wait, discard a card.
Draw a card, then discard a card.
Okay.
Lose 1 life.
Lose 1 life. That part I could actually see being part of a card. But at the same time... They haven't...
Cursed Ward.
Cursed
it's
Ward.
Rare.
Right. It's the fact that... I'll tell you what. I like the third ability. I think the third ability should probably be in this set. But... Destroying a transformed creature automatically that threw some huge red flags. Okay, it was huge. I mean, so big. So big. I like the flavor part of it, and they're very big on flavor, but I haven't seen that sort of flavor. I don't think that exists just based upon that. The first one is a little sketchy to begin with. That card is fake.
You're right again.
3 for 3.
I really thought that the draw and discard would sell you on it, but
and it's something that should probably be in Innistrad, but
right.
It's just the rest.
Okay, so you are 3 for 3. You're right.
Okay.
So number 4, Flameblade Angel. There's another rare.
Okay.
For 2 red and 4 generic. Okay.
6 total.
It's an angel.
All right.
It has flying, and it says, it's 4/4.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. And it says,
if you just tuned in, he actually missed the power and toughness on a made-up card.
No, a real card.
Oh, a real card.
Yeah, that one was real. That's how you got it, because I couldn't remember what.
Right. The way you said it.
power
Sorry,
toughness
I was so busy confusing what you did wrong with it, but it was gold.
Okay, so 6 mana, 4/4 flying angel, red. Okay.
Right. Okay.
Rare. Whenever a source an opponent controls deals damage to you or a planeswalker you control,
Okay.
you may have Flameblade Angel deal 1 damage to that source's controller.
Oh man, it's a pretty generic card. It's a lot of things they've done in the past, but it's on a red card.
It is on a red card.
It's on a red card.
You want to hear it again?
No, I think I got this. So it's a red card with a fairly wide ability.
White? You think so?
Yeah, reducing it down to 1.
No, that's not what I said at all.
Say it again. I'm sorry.
Whenever a source an opponent controls deals damage to you or a planeswalker you control, you may have Flameblade Angel deal 1 damage to that source's controller.
Okay. Deal 1 damage. Okay, I'm sorry.
Good. I'm glad I clarified.
Well, yeah, it's kind of hard whenever you're trying to visualize a card as someone's like, you know, anyone else also joining in. I wasn't allowed to look at any spoilers this week due to a binding contract, and I did not really want to have to lose my hair over this.
There's a lot riding on the line here. So.
Beautiful beard. And also there's a random prize. Okay, so 6 mana, 4 flyer. Wait a minute. Okay, hold on. As I was running through it all, you almost had me. And the reason you almost, it is all making sense. A 4/4 flying angel, okay? 6 mana, I could see that. 6 mana should probably have a little bit better ability, but I was still kind of sold for a second. All the way up until I realized it was actually a rare. Something about the fact that this card is a rare, it doesn't feel very rare. So, this one is the closest by far. I'm going to have to say fake.
You are wrong.
Oh, come on!
We are coming down to the wire here. That one is real. In fact, that one was spoiled. That one was spoiled on Tuesday night late.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 2 red. Okay. So
actually, that was spoiled before we did our last show because that was one of the ones that we didn't look at.
Right, but once again, we also weren't trying to look at it. Okay, so 2 red, 4 colorless, 4/4 flyer. Wow.
Yep. Whenever a source deals damage to you or planeswalker you control,
you do 1 damage
to that source's controller.
To that source's controller. Wow. What a weird card. Okay. I mean, I said it was really. I even said it was real borderline. It felt borderline.
That means even attacking creatures and stuff. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But it's after they deal their damage, so you won't get to. Yeah. Weird card. Very weird that it's a rare.
Okay, and the last one does have flavor text, and I'm going to give it to you. Just because I didn't give you the other one and I meant to before you guessed, right? Okay. Violent Surge. Okay. A red and 2 generic enchantment.
Okay.
Whenever a creature dies, you may put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Whenever a player casts a spell, Violent Surge deals 1 damage to that player. And the flavor text is resistance only made the angel's assault more fierce.
So 1 red, 2 colorless enchantment.
Mm-hmm. Whenever a creature dies, you may put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Okay. Whenever a player casts a spell, Violent Surge deals 1 damage to that player.
Okay, so
now if you get this one wrong,
I know
you don't get the sweet prize.
I know. I can't believe it made it all the way this far. I would have rather just got it all wrong to begin with. Not worry about a sweet prize. Okay, so the second ability makes the most sense. Red has always found a way to pyrostatic pillar, ways to do damage whenever people cast spells. It does it both ways, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I can kind of see that. It's weird. It doesn't do 2 damage, but then again, it has another ability on the card. But that other ability is very, very weird for red. Unless they've gone a different direction because of the way Avacyn is and so on and so forth. Doubt they're redefining red. So really what I'm looking at here is the first ability. Whenever another creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter.
Well, any creature, because it's an enchantment.
Yeah, any. Sorry. Well,
Yeah.
just whenever creature... I was saying another because you put it on a different creature.
Right.
So you get to choose. It doesn't feel red. Doesn't feel red. So, to not make this go any further for our guests, our viewers, I am just going to immediately have to say, since it doesn't feel red in the first one, this card is just... God, fake.
Oh, you are right.
Yes!
You are right. It is fake. Not only is it fake,
Okay.
but it is a recoloring of a card that was designed by Robo Rosewater.
Okay. Very nice.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
this was a white card that Robo Rosewater came out with called Hornet Surge, and I renamed it Violent Surge and made it red.
Ah, okay, nice.
Yeah.
Thank God I didn't see that Robo Rosewater one.
It was from way back.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I just recently started paying attention to it.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. That was pretty... Wait a minute. I get a prize.
Oh, you get a sweet prize!
Oh, God.
You, my friend,
Oh, shut up.
have won a signed black-white spirit token.
Oh, my gosh. I don't see the signing.
Oh! Well, we will soon remedy that.
Oh, God. Best host ever.
There you are, my friend. That is well worth the game show.
All right. Thank you. I will use it with all of my spirit decks.
Black-white flying spirit token, my friend. Using good health.
Whew. I'll tell you what, that game, I'm practicing. I mean, this was intense. Oh my God, I'm
You
drained.
did it, though. You did it. And you got one wrong, which made me happy.
Well,
Okay, so that brings us to our next topic, which is Robo Rosewater.
okay.
Now, I don't want to talk too much about this, but I don't know if you guys are familiar. Robo Rosewater is a Twitter account that is designed by these guys who have that is hosted by these guys who have a computer program, okay, that can design its own magic cards, right? It takes input from all the cards that have ever existed, and it jumbles them together, and with varying degrees of success, it produces cards that sometimes work and sometimes don't, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some of the worst cards are just literally a jumble of words, right? They don't make any sense. They're not sentence structures. They could never work as a card. And sometimes they're really good. Like the card I just said, it's outside of white and it's outside of red, but it's a card that could work in some way, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe if it was 2-colored or something. I don't know. Anyway, there was a really bad card that was spoiled not too long ago, or not spoiled, that was created on Twitter not too long ago.
Okay.
That was just a jumble of words. But one of the things that was on it was, you can cast this from play.
Okay.
Which I just thought, that's really interesting design space. Don't you think? You can cast this from the battlefield. You may cast this from the battlefield. Now, obviously, there's a lot of restrictions you'd have to put on that. You know, you couldn't just make it something you could over and over be casting. It couldn't be an ornithopter. You know? But...
Okay.
But how do you think about that as an interesting design space that a robot invented?
It's not quite complete because there wasn't a human mind behind this.
Right. I mean, every now and then it really does come out with gold. And that was the first new thing that I saw it sort of make up on its own by jumbling words together. Mm-hmm. That was something new and different than what we've seen before.
I just don't quite see how you would... So, let's say we have...
It would have to be on a permanent card, obviously.
Right.
Right.
So we have just a 1 white, 1 colorless, 1/1 flyer or something. Okay. And I said colorless, which unfortunately doesn't work. It's 1 any.
Well, let's say it's a new variant on like self bounce, right, where you are blink or whatever, right?
Okay.
So let's say it was on like, and it was a variant on evoke, okay.
Okay.
So it said something like, like a 1 blue, 2 colorless, creature that says when it comes into play, bounce target creature with power less 2 or less or something like that, right? And then it says you may cast this from the battlefield, and then say if you do, sacrifice it when it comes into play. What do you think?
Okay. I mean,
this isn't a big topic to play to really jumble on too much, but like
it feels really, really close to almost like just making an ability that isn't necessarily that. But I like what you're saying. So I don't like the ability itself.
It's a design space that they haven't explored before, and there's definitely good reason because it slots right into lots of degenerative things if they do it wrong. Mm-hmm. You don't want to have stuff that's that reusable. As far as like storm count is concerned or stuff like that. But I feel like if they did it right, it could be something new and something interesting.
Yeah, I mean, if I did see a play on it, something we kind of already have, which is just an ability. I think it would just be an ability on a permanent, and I don't really like the idea of casting something that's already on the field, because what if our opponent counterspells it?
Then it goes to the graveyard.
Yeah, I know, but there's just something weird there. But yeah,
what would happen is the second you cast it from the field, it would
no
leave
longer on the
battlefield. Right.
So now whenever it leaves, did it die?
No, it left the battlefield. Just like when it bounced, it didn't die. Just when it gets exiled, it didn't die.
Mm-hmm.
But it shuffled into your library.
But it did leave play, and that's something another design space they might be worried about
or they might want to capitalize on.
Yeah. But in that case, it's almost like you were saying, let's say you cast it, it comes in play. It's like it has its own blink ability.
It could.
I figured out why he loves it so much.
I love coming into play effect.
This guy loves coming into play, blinking, and all this shenanigans.
Well, not only that, but
so he's trying to find a way to be like, hey, let's make this whole block.
It's just really interesting.
All about me.
It's just really sure. Let's do that. I think it's really interesting that a robot came up with that ability by random. You know? It's the first time I've seen Robo Rosewater do something that was genuinely new and different like that.
Okay. I mean, I've seen him do some pretty cool stuff like...
Trample?
Well, I was thinking more like, I could maybe cast my card from my exile hand or something along those lines. The old land exile.
There was one the other day that was like when it comes into play, you may cast it from your hand, then exile it, destroy this card, or something like that. It just kept moving.
Perfect. It's a great
zones.
Card. Yeah. Wonderful card. But
so you're gonna enjoy your sweet.
I'm just gonna I feel like I'm gonna have to build a spirit deck now, and I've never done that. I've played with Lingering Souls, I guess, a couple times.
I'm not gonna lie. A, that token is really important to me, but B is the first thing I saw before I left the house this morning.